Hello, my name is Dylan Warnicki, and my project is about predicting suicidal behavior from medical notes. This presentation is split into an introduction to the project, the methods that were used to predict the suicidal behavior, the results of those methods, and future directions that could be used to improve the project. It is no secret that suicide is a major public health issue today. The WHO cites it as the leading cause of death for 15 to 29-year-olds. However, it is also one of the most preventable causes of death. Many victims seek prior medical help before suicide and thus leave many medical notes as evidence behind. It is estimated that 97% of suicide ideation is described in medical notes. However, only 3% of that suicide ideation is properly described in documentable ICD-10 codes. The idea of this project was to potentially use artificial intelligence and large language models to close this discrepancy. The dataset used to train the artificial intelligence models were based on annotated Mimic3 notes subsets that contain annotated highlighted text that contains suicidal behavior. These notes were then split into sentences and labeled as suicidal data if they contained one of these annotations entirely within them. They were also given an appropriate ICD-10 code to describe the behavior. The diagnosis task at hand was split into two models. A classification model would identify if a sentence contained suicidal behavior. A categorizer model would then be used to label those positively predicted suicidal sentences with an appropriate ICD-10 code. This split was done in order to improve the imbalance training data set that was given. Both of these models also use the same attention-based design as you can see on the left. The whole model was based on a transformer model that used embedders, transformers, and linear models in order to achieve classification categorizations. The transformers were split into attention models with pre-layer normalization and residual connections. Pre-trained large language models were not used in these models due to existing computational limitations at hand. The results of these models were mixed. The classifier achieved a 0.65 F1 score. This was worse than similar models in the same task, but better performing than random guessing overall by a large margin. The categorizer achieved a 0.78 F1 score and is a decent improvement over other similar models. Overall, and combined, these models may be the best available for predicting suicidal behavior and their corresponding ICD-10 codes from free text available due to the limited work in predicting ICD-10 codes. Future improvements that could be taken with this project would be use better word embedding vectors. GloVe embeddings were used due to computational limitations as previously discussed, but these word vectors do not contain the medical terms in their vocabulary, such as depression or PT, which stands for patient. Having more contextual embeddings could improve the model performance by adding features to these word vectors that better represent the context of the words overall, such as how depression could mean more closely a medical diagnosis than an economic slowdown. Additional data could also improve the generalization of the models, as only 580 admission notes were approximately available, and most of these notes produced sentences that were closely correlated due to them describing the same stories and thus using the same words and sentences. Thank you for watching my presentation.